So, have you ever really thought about what it takes to become a network security pro? Well, today we are breaking down the exact roadmap. We're turning that whole complex journey from just being curious into becoming a job ready network security engineer. Let's get this thing mapped out. All right, let's dive right in. Here's the game plan. We're going on a 6-phase quest. We'll start with the rock solid theory, then we'll get our hands dirty with the actual digital tools of the trade, switch our brains into a defensive mindset, add a little bit of a Python superpower, and then, we'll chart a direct course straight to that first job. Okay, first things first, let's frame this whole thing the right way. This is not about just learning some random list of tech topics. It's way more than that. Yeah, you really got to think of this as a job-focused adventure. I mean it. Every single step we cover from this point on is designed with just one goal in mind, to make you a hireable candidate, someone with the real, practical, hands-on skills that employers are desperately looking for. Every strong building has to start with a solid foundation. And in network security, that means you have to deeply understand how networks actually work before you can even think about securing them. So this part, it's all about those absolute non-negotiables. You really have to master these core concepts. Seriously, think of them like learning the grammar of networking. You've got to understand things like the OSI model, which is basically a 7-layer blueprint for how all devices talk to each other, and the fundamentals of IP addressing. It's totally essential before any of the cool, practical tools will even begin to make sense. And listen, I want to pause on this one for a second because the source material really flags this as critical. Subnetting. It's the skill of chopping up a network into smaller, more manageable pieces. This isn't just some textbook idea, okay? It is a day one, on-the-job skill you will use to manage traffic, boost performance, and, most importantly, contain security threats. And this is just a brilliant illustration of that theory in action. Every single time you type in a web address, this crazy, complex dance of DNS resolution happens in just a few seconds. If you can explain these 6 steps, it proves you really get how data finds its way across the entire internet. All right, now for the really exciting part, putting all that foundational knowledge to work. We're officially moving from theory to practice. We're going to build our own lab and get our hands on the essential tools of the trade. This is your personal digital playground. You can use a virtualization tool like VirtualBox, a network simulator like GNS3, and the incredibly powerful analysis tool Wireshark. And with that stack, you can build, break, and fix entire networks right on your own computer. And the best part? It's all free. This is where the real learning happens. Now, I love this simple analogy for Wireshark. Just think of it as your network's postal inspector. It lets you basically open up the digital envelopes, the data packets, so you can see exactly what information is being sent, where it's coming from, and where it's trying to go. And right along those same lines, think of Nmap as your digital door knocker. It just systematically goes up to a target computer and knocks on thousands of potential doors or ports to see which ones are open and listening. It's always your first step in mapping out any network. And see, this connects right back to our fundamentals. Nmap works its magic at layer 3 of that OSI model we talked about, the network layer. It uses IP addresses, not physical ones, to find and check on devices, which makes it a perfect practical application of those core networking concepts. Okay, so you get how networks work, and you've got your hands on the tools. Now it's time to pivot to the security mindset. It's time to start thinking less like a builder and a lot more like a guardian, someone who's totally focused on how to defend these systems. And this slide just perfectly contrasts the old way of thinking with the new. The traditional castle and moat model. It was like a candy with a hard, crunchy shell, but a soft, chewy center. Once you were inside, you could do anything. But the modern zero trust model, it assumes danger can be anywhere, inside or out, and it lives by one simple rule. Never trust, always verify. This is your defensive arsenal. You got firewalls acting as gatekeepers, an IDS, an intrusion detection system, as a watchdog that barks when it sees trouble, and an IPS, or intrusion prevention system, that can actually step in and block threats. You combine those with things like VLANs to create secure zones, and suddenly you're building layers of defense. And this is exactly how you'll bring defense to life in your own lab. You'll set up a tool like Snort, which is a great IDS, or even a full-blown firewall like pfSense. Then you can launch a little mock attack and watch your system detect it in real time. That kind of hands-on practice is just invaluable. Now we get to the phase that really separates a good candidate from a truly great one. This is all about adding a force multiplier to everything you've learned so far, automating your work with Python. I just love this quote from the source material because it is so, so true. Very few junior candidates walk into an interview with strong networking fundamentals and scripting skills. Having both makes you a massive asset to any team right from day one. And this is a perfect project for your portfolio. Just imagine building a Python script that automatically combs through thousands of firewall log entries, finds suspicious activity, like a bunch of failed logins from one IP address, and then spits out a clean summary report. An employer sees that, and they know you can solve real-world problems and save their team a ton of time. Okay, you've built the skills. Now it's time to package them up for the job market. This final phase is all about proving what you know so you can go out there and land that first role. This table breaks down two of the best entry-level certifications you can get. The CompTIA Security Plus gives you this broad vendor-neutral foundation, which is perfect for roles like a Security Operations Center or SOC analyst. Then you have the Cisco CCNA, which is much more focused on Cisco gear and is a direct path to network-specific jobs. This whole roadmap we just went through is fantastic prep for either one. And after you put in the work, you'll be genuinely qualified for roles just like these. Positions like a Network Operations Center or NOC analyst or a SOC analyst. They are fantastic entry points where you can apply everything you've learned in your lab in a real professional setting. And this is a very realistic timeline. Look, this isn't an overnight thing, but with consistent, dedicated study every day, you can absolutely be ready to confidently apply for these junior level roles in about 6 months. So there you have it. We've laid out the entire map for your quest. From that very first step of learning the OSI model all the way to the final step of landing a job, the path is crystal clear. The only question left is, what are you going to build in your lab first?